Dehydrating fruit is one of the easiest ways to preserve it, and peaches are one of the best fruits to start with. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I turn fresh peaches into chewy, shelf-stable snacks that last for months and if stored correctly over a year. So let's get into it. I got these peaches from my local grocer. They're only $1 a kilo, which is very cheap compared to when they're out of season. So I thought, as I'm dehydrating them, I'll show you guys the steps I go through to dehydrate peaches for long-term food storage. So to start, I'll want to clean these peaches in water. For demonstration purposes, I'll just use a bowl of water. You don't have to just use fresh water. You can also choose to use water and vinegar solution with 1 part vinegar to 4 parts water. So to start, I'll just take all the stickers off and place these in the water. And then I'll just give them a quick rinse and then we can start processing them. Now I'll just grab a towel, hand towel as well, to dry these off once they're done. So just give them, you want to move them around, give them a good rinse and just wipe down the fuzz, because the cleaner they are, the better they'll store. So as you're doing this, you just want to check for any marks on the peaches or dirt or any other blemishes and just take it off. Okay, now that's done, I'll empty this bowl out because I will need to use it shortly. So I'll let these dry and I'll come back. Okay, now that these have had some time to dry off, to stop them from oxidizing and getting brown spots in the dehydrator, I want to create a lemon juice or citric acid based bath for them to sit in once they've been sliced. So to do that, I will grab my bowl and then I want to put in some lemon juice. So for the lemon juice solution, I'm using some lemon juice that I've prepped and vacuum sealed previously. I'll link to it in the comments below. So for the lemon juice solution, I want equal parts lemon juice to water. So I'll chuck in these lemon ice cubes that I've created, and then I'll add in equal parts water and let those melt. While these cubes are melting in that water, I'll put them to the side and we can start prepping our peaches. Okay, once your peaches have dried off, you can grab a sharp knife to start removing these pits. So I'll grab this. I'll start prepping the peaches. So I usually like to just run a sharp knife down the middle and give both sides a good twist. One usually comes off relatively easy. I'll go through half them all and we'll go from there. I find some people also like to use a sharp straw if your peach is super ripe and push it through the center and push out the pit on the other side. Now these are a little bit firmer, so I don't believe I'll be able to do that today, but that's just a handy tip if you have a lot of softer, riper peaches. So I'll just quickly go through and do all these. Okay, now that all my peaches are halved, I'll want to remove these pits and then I can start slicing them. A lot of people like to use a set of pliers, but I've just got some ice tongs today, so I'll just remove the centers and put them to the side. I find these clingstone varieties of peaches are a little bit of a pain when it comes to removing these pits, so it's probably a better idea to let them ripen as much as you can before you start processing them. They'll also be a little bit sweeter the longer you leave them to ripe. I'm just a little bit time poor, so I've decided to do it today. Now while you're doing this, you'll want to remove any spots or any dirt that you find, because the cleaner your peaches are, the better the end product will be. So now that that's all done, I'll just have a quick tidy up and I'll get ready to chuck these into the lemon bath solution. It'll work relatively quick if you can, just to avoid as much oxidization as possible. But I'll want to slice my peaches into about 2.5 to 3 mil long. You can You don't have to do this size in particular. It's just what I find best for what I use it for, which is typically adding it to my granola or eating them kind of like a chip as a snack. So once they're sliced, chuck them into a lemon solution. Now keep in mind, the thicker you slice your peach slices, the longer they'll take to dehydrate, because the more surface area you have, the faster it's able to remove the moisture. I'll skip through this, and once I'm done, I'll come back and show you how to put it into your food dehydrator. If you have a lot of peaches to go through, you could also use a food processor with the slicer attachment. So that's another way to make it a little bit quicker. You don't have to use the lemon bath solution. You can choose to use citric acid or something similar. It's just to help prevent any oxidization and brown spots when you're dehydrating your peaches. You can choose not to do it. There just may be some discoloration and you may not get the best result in the end. So it's totally up to you. Okay, now that's all done, I want to submerge these into the lemon water solution and leave them for approximately 10 minutes so they all get covered in that juice, and it will just help prevent any oxidization. So give them a good mix and I'll let them sit and we'll come back. Okay, while these are still sitting, I've still got a few minutes left on that, I'll grab out my food dehydrator. This is a cheap home use food dehydrator that I've purchased from Kmart, Australia. It was around $55 from memory. I've done a few videos on it in the past, an unboxing and just a little bit of an overview. So make sure to check those out if you're interested. You can also use your oven to dehydrate them, but I find that although it does it a bit quicker, it can sometimes lead to burning and the end product just isn't as good. So either way, I'll want to make sure all my trays are clean, and I'll start by layering the peaches onto this. Okay, now it's been about 10 minutes. Because my liquid didn't cover all the peaches, I've just been moving them around every couple of minutes just to make sure they're all kind of coated evenly in that lemon juice solution. So to remove the peaches, I've just re-grabbed my little tongs that I have. You can use a slotted spoon. The trick is just to get as much moisture as possible off the peaches before they go into the drying trays. So we'll start with my first tray. Grabbed a kitchen cloth just to help dry up any excess liquid. So I'll start layering them onto this rack. So you want to make sure and keep in mind that there's ample space between the slices to allow for even air circulation. So I'll go through and I'll put the layers through now. Keep in mind when you're dehydrating, the thinner the slices, the quicker that it will dehydrate. So I plan to run these for about 6 hours, but we'll check every 2 hours or so to see how they're progressing. If you find that you've done a lot of peaches and your dehydrated trays are a little bit overpacked, you can still get away with it. Just keep in mind it may take longer and you may need to shuffle around your trays during the process. Okay, so that first one's done. I'll go through and do the rest and then I'll come back. Now, when I'm putting anything in a dehydrator, I like to have the most crowded trays at the bottom and the least crowded trays at the top, as the top just gets a little bit less airflow. So we'll put those on there and we'll move this ready and we'll turn it on. Now you can just discard this liquid. I don't personally have a use for it. If you do have a use for it, make sure to put it in the comments below. I'd love to stop wasting it. I guess if you're doing multiple batches or you have multiple food dehydrators, you can just reuse this straight after. So anyway, I'll clean that up and we'll get this on. Now, when you're dehydrating foods, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. The temperature and humidity does play a role in how long and how hot you'll have to run your food dehydrator for. For today, it's not very humid where I am, and I believe the temperature outside is around 28 degrees, so it's quite a nice day. For the temperature I'm going to run these at is 135 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put a conversion down below. I'm expecting these to take about 6 hours, and you can tell they're done when they crack when you bend them instead of being floppy. So we'll put the lid on, we'll turn this on, and we'll get started. I'll set this off, so I'll turn it on. We'll set it to 135, and then I'll set the time to 5 hours first, and then I'll see how they go. So we'll put it on. I'll come check in every so often. Okay, so it's been almost 5 hours now, and the peaches have dehydrated significantly. So now's a good time to test to see if they are done. So to test these, I'll grab one of the thickest slices from the top layer, and I'll set it to the side for about 5 minutes for it to cool down a little, and then we'll see if it's crisp. I'll also grab a slightly thinner piece, and we'll test that out as well. So I'll put these on a plate, and we'll come back in 5 of these bits of peach. Now they should be dry to the touch and crispy. So these are still floppy. So we'll put them back in for about another hour, and then we'll check again. So we'll set it back to the same temperature, and we'll just run it about a little bit longer. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of different factors that affect how quickly your peaches will dehydrate. So make sure to keep an eye out on the weather, and instead of working to a time, make sure you work to firmness of the peach once it's dehydrated. So I'll set this back up again at the 135 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 more hour, and we'll go. Okay, so it's been another about hour and a half, and I've taken another piece of peach out and let it dry, and now it's cracking, it's making cracking sounds, and it falls apart very easy. So I'm now going to turn off my dehydrator and take the lid off the top and let these cool down to room temperature before I go to store them in my pantry. You want to make sure you let them cool down back to room temperature before you store them to help avoid any condensation, which spoils the peaches a lot quicker. So I'll turn this off now. Okay, now that that's done and had some time to cool down, we now want to place our dried peaches into containers for storage. There's 2 main ways you can do it. I typically like to do it. Glass mason jars for shorter term storage, or reusable vacuum seal bags for longer term storage. For today, I'm just going to use the glass mason jar, and I can expect these to last for about 3 to 6 months in a cool, dark place. The best thing to do is to keep it away from humidity to avoid them reabsorbing moisture and spoiling faster. So I'm just gonna take all the dried peaches, put them into here. That's all done. I'll put the lid on, You can choose to put an oxygen absorber in with this as well if you're worried about air getting in there. If you keep this out of sunlight and extreme temperatures, they should last for around 3 to 6 months with no issues. So I'm going to put these in my cupboard and I'll snack on them as well as add them to my granola for breakfast and stuff like that. So thanks for watching. If you're looking to learn more about food preservation, dehydrating and vacuum sealing, make sure to check out some of my other videos. If you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like or consider subscribing.